So hopefully I fixed the glitch and we got all this taken care of. So we're back to our normal stuff here. So got 2 chapters left. Chapter 15 on the urinary system, and then chapter 16 on reproduction. And based on the schedule I've kind of put together, we should be able to get through all of them okay before the end of the trimester. So just bear with us as best we can here as we get through this. Urinary system, pretty cut and dry, really simple to sort of understand. Obviously, the whole point of urinating is to eliminate your waste products, toxins, drugs, nitrogenous wastes, which is why your urine smells like ammonia and things like that as well. These are things lost through the urine as you guys get into this. What the actual urinary system actually does is it regulates, again, aspects of homeostasis, keeping your body regulated, keeping your water balance in line, keeping your electrolytes in balance, acid base balance in the blood so the pH stays the same. Definitely helps regulate your blood pressure, helps activate your vitamin D, and help in red blood cell production as you guys get through this. So your basic structure of the kidneys is what we're going to be looking at here. And then the ureters, which are going to be the tubes running down from the kidneys into your urinary bladder. And then, excuse me, from the urinary bladder down to the urethra and out the body. All right, that's what we're going to be looking at as we get through this. So locations of your kidneys, most of you guys know where they are. They're sort of in the back. You can kind of reach around and feel them if you want to, but against the dorsal body wall at the level of the T12 to the L3 vertebrae. Right kidney is slightly lower than the other one, but they are attached to the ureters and get the renal blood vessels coming in there. And if you remember, the blood vessels coming across when we saw search it coming down from the descending aorta, coming down and out to the sides. That's where the blood comes in from them, and nerves at the renal hiatus area. And on top of each kidney is going to be your adrenal glands. We already talked about your adrenal glands and their function. We talked about the endocrine system. Covering the kidneys, you're going to have a renal capsule that surrounds the whole thing, and then you're going to have adipose capsule. Again, adipose is fat tissue surrounding the kidney, giving protection to the kidney, a little layer of fat to always protect things, and helps keep the kidney in its correct location. If you guys ever hear about kidney transplants, which we'll watch a video on that one of the days we're doing this, it is actually harder on the person donating the kidney than it is the person receiving the kidney, just because of the way the structure of all that stuff works out, because of the area. So this is where we're going to look at the basic structure of a kidney. You know, if we were at school, we would have a basic lab on this where you'd cut up a kidney and be able to see all these firsthand as you guys get into this. But you're going to have a renal cortex, the outer region of the whole area, coming in here. Here's your fatty layers coming off of this stuff. And then your renal medulla, which is going to be inside the category itself. You're going to be looking at these little sections right inside here. And then the renal pelvis, which is going to be the inner collecting tubes that, rains these things down, coming down all these pieces down into the tubes, getting in then into the ureter as you do this. So basically you have your cortex, which is the outside region here. You have your medullas, which are these little parts here that do most of the filtering, and then pumping it into the renal pelvis, into the tubes in that area. Okay. The medullary pyramids are the triangular regions inside the medulla. That's what these shapes are going to be. If you kind of look at them, it's kind of really not easy to see a triangle, but you can definitely kind of see the pointer going around here. And then the renal columns are extension of the cortex-like material inward. And then you have what are called the calyces, cup-shaped structures that funnel the urine. Your calyces are going to be this little area right in here. That funnel the urine toward the renal pelvis and getting it into the right areas as you get into that structure. Okay. Blood flow, again, we talked about going into the aorta, down the descending aorta, getting into the renal artery, segmental artery. Again, this isn't that terribly important for you guys getting here, but it shows that get the blood down into the glomerular area. Inside the capillaries is where that changes, and then you come bring it back out the other side. So again, you're going to have your arteries and your veins coming in there as well. Not that terribly difficult or important for that part, just showing where the blood flow goes. Now, you have the nephrons. These are going to be the structural and functional units of the kidneys. The nephrons are actually responsible for blood formation, or for urine formation. And then the main instructions of these nephrons are going to be the glomerulus and the renal tubules, then extends the urine out of the body. So these are the glomerulus, the little capsule space inside here, getting the blood flow coming into that area, a special capillary bed. attached to the arterioles on both sides. It helps maintain its high pressure and sits within a capsule. So this stuff sits inside the medullary capsule coming into these little sections here. And inside of these, I know this is going to be a little confusing for you to see as we'll break this down in a little bit. Um, but you have the glomerular Bowman's capsule, the proximal convoluted tubule, the loop of Henle, then the distal convoluted tubule. So you got this section of all this stuff as the things pass through, and this is where blood and getting from the arteries and the veins for the red and the blue. But this is where the urine is going to be, things are going to be pulled in and out of the urine. Sort of like in the digestive system when the stuff is pulled through to get to the blood. Here's where the things are going to be pulled in, getting to the right area. So you have the glomerular, the Bowman's capsule sitting right in here. Okay. And then you get into the capillaries and the convoluted tubes. And then you get into this loop coming all the way down and back up here, whatever, which is the loop of Henle. And then getting into the distal convoluted tubules right inside here. So you got this little section. You got all these little sections that the liquids of the blood and that kind of stuff pass, where the waste products can then be sent out, getting into this system to then get into the collecting duct and be sent, along the way. Okay. You have different types of nephrons going in here. You have cortical nephrons located entirely in the cortex, includes most of the nephrons coming into this section. If you kind of look, you can see the whole structure I just showed you in the last slide. With the different pieces, the glomerular tubes and all that kind of stuff. And all that is like a section of this little area right in here, showing where all this stuff is. Notice how it gets into the medulla area, gets up into the cortex area. And again, talk about working it into this way to then filtering it down into this way, which then eventually gets down into the ureters coming along that way. Okay. The juxtamedullary nephrons found at the boundary of the cortex and the medulla. So you kind of look at it, in these little sections in here. We're going to have these little nephrons in this little section that want to kind of cross both areas. So you have some that are just in the top. These are the cortical nephrons, and things that go between the two sections of the cortex and the medulla. Those are the juxtamedullary. And then the peritubular capillaries arise from the efferent arteriole of the glomerulus. So you talk about bringing this stuff in for the arteriole. Normal low pressure capillaries attached to a venule, cling close to the renal tubule, and reabsorb and reclaim some substances from the collecting tubes. And so that's where all this stuff kind of goes. Okay, and that's what we're looking for. Okay, as we do this. So here is the actual urine formation process that takes place in all of these different things, and do these kind of things and go. Hurry! I need to take a pause here. Macy, come get this. And go, because you're bringing the dog down here, so you hear my dog bark. I apologize. Macy, say hi to everybody. You're not on camera right now, so just say hi.
Hi.
There you go. Okay, so she's doing her e-learning work. She's being a good kid, so we're all good. So here's the idea about where this stuff goes on as you guys get all these little different areas about where this stuff happens here. You have filtration happening in certain areas. You have reabsorption, so some of it's going to be lost and brought back in, and you have secretion of this stuff going through there. So in the actual process, so the arteries bring it in. They go through this glomerular capsule, what does all of the things we just talked about with the loop of Henle and all that other kind of stuff, does these things to form the formation, and stuff goes back into the blood here, and other stuff's pulled back out here. So you get this idea about where this stuff's going to be. We'll show you how this process works. Filtration is a non-selective passive process. Water and solutes smaller than proteins are forced through the capillary walls. So you have these things that are in here that get pulled out. Okay, and it's just passive. Just the stuff falls through the capillary walls, getting into the filtration area. Blood cells cannot pass out into the capillaries because obviously you don't want to lose your blood cells through this. Filtrate is collected in the glomerular capsule and leaves via the renal tubule. So stuff comes in, but then stuff can come back, get back into the blood as well. The peritubular capillaries reabsorb several materials. Some water is brought back in, glucose, amino acids, and ions. So basically what happens is, you can picture it as everything is dumped out except for the blood cells from the blood. It gets into these little capsules, and then some water, some sugar, some protein, some ions get reabsorbed back into the capillaries. Okay, nothing terribly big here. Some reabsorption is passive, most is active. Most reabsorption occurs in the proximal convoluted tubule. So you've dumped, basically, and a good analogy of this is like cleaning out your fridge. You basically take everything out first. All right, obviously you can't take the fridge components out as you get through this. So you can't take the blood cells out. But you take all the other stuff out. But we're going to selectively put stuff back in as we start to clean and get all this kind of stuff out. That we're going to clean these things out. Now, materials that are not reabsorbed at this point, nitrogenous waste products. urea, uric acid, creatine, all those other kind of stuff, or creatinine, however you want to pronounce it, and then excess water is not reabsorbed as well. All right, so your blood doesn't need that much water once it's gotten rid of those things. Okay, and then you get a process called secretion. All right, so materials move from the peritubular capillaries into the renal tubules. So this is where hydrogen, some potassium ions, some creatinine, some creatinine, however stuff you want to pronounce it, are then forced back into the byproduct of what you guys just had. So the idea is that you've emptied it all out, you've put some stuff back in the fridge. Now we're going to pull out some selective things, some hydrogen, some potassium, and this creatinine, and then materials are left in renal tubule moved toward the ureter. So that's essentially the process that goes on here. We take it all out, bring a lot of stuff back into the blood. All right, and then we selectively bring in some hydrogen, some potassium, and all that kind of stuff. Obviously, we're not going to try to bring in the toxins and all that kind of stuff as well. It's going to stay into the thing, hopefully make that stuff work out. Okay, so here's essentially a great picture for you guys to see about what is going on and where it actually happens. So the blood comes into this Bowman glomerular capsule right here, and look at all this stuff that gets dumped out at this point, right? We're taking out some salt, taking out some bicarbonate, taking out lots of water, taking out some glucose, amino acids, all that other kind of stuff. We're taking that, all that stuff's been dumped out. We're trying to take this stuff and put it back in the right area in this filtrate section. Poisons and some hydrogen stuff kind of go back into the urine. We want to get rid of it at that point. Goes into the loop of Henle. Some water is pulled out, some salt is pulled out, some salt is pulled out again. Then it comes down here. All right, some sodium, some salt, and some bicarbonate, some other drugs and poisons are put back in here as well. And then we get rid of collecting duct here, and we still pull out some of these things and try to get the stuff to the urine, all that kind of stuff. So here's your filtrate, includes water, salts, bicarbonates, hydrogen ions, urea, glucose, amino acids, and drugs. These are all the things that we took out of the blood, all right, at the initial point. And then you look at the reabsorption technique. This is how it's going to be reabsorbed back into the blood. So in this section right here, this part right here in the Bowman's capsule, is when you're going to take everything out of the fridge. And now we start to reabsorb it. Some of it we have to reabsorb back in by active transport. Some are just passives, and some are going to be secretions. We get through this. All right, putting it back. So we took all this stuff out of the blood, put all this stuff, and we selectively put some stuff back in, gets it reabsorbed back into the blood, whatever, and the rest of it stays behind into the urine. Here again, we're letting some water flow out. We're letting some salt flow back to the blood. We're letting some salt flow back to the blood, and getting some more drugs and poisons and toxins and stuff like that out of there. And then we'll pull out some more salt, the urea that your body needs, and then we'll pull it out, and the rest is going to be to urine. Okay, as we get through this, that's basically the process. Okay, we'll stop here for today. We'll do a little assignment for this, and we'll finish up the second part in the next time. Okay.